What's up, guys? Let's be real for 30 seconds. It's October. It is HOCO season. And if you are in middle school or high school and you're clicking on this video about goal setting and habit building and personal leadership development, when most teens, no judgment, are thinking about who to ask to homecoming, how to ask, what to wear, which friend group to go with, I just want to say that you are different. You are special. Because I hope you are thinking about homecoming if it's offered at your school, but you're also making space in your brain to learn something about leadership, to invest in you as a leader. And you know what? That's because God is probably calling you to be a leader if you aren't already leading. So in this video, we're going to get practical. How do you actually achieve the big goal that you have set for yourself? There's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's an excellent book, and in the book, he teaches a principle called the 1% rule. And basically, the 1% rule is to set atomic habits up in your life so that incrementally, over time, you can work your way gradually toward the goal that you want. The reason the book is called Atomic Habits is because an atom is the smallest particle of every piece of matter that exists on the earth. Everything is made up of atoms, and an atom is the smallest particle that still retains the properties of that substance. So atomic habits are small, tiny, half-step habits and actions that you can take on a consistent basis that will compound over time. And over time, you will get to your goal. If you think about it, a lifetime is made up of years. Years are made up of months. Months are made up of weeks. Weeks are made up of days. Days are made up of hours. And hours are made up of minutes. And minutes are made up of moments. So when I read Atomic Habits and I think about the concept of just doing 1%, taking tiny actions in the direction of your goal, that resonates with me because as a Christian, we believe that we are fallen and depraved human beings. We sin even without realizing it. And we're not capable as depraved and fallen human beings. Yes, we are redeemed, and yes, we are forgiven and saved, but we are still in this flesh and we still struggle against spiritual powers that are working against us. And our reality on the ground of life every day is it's hard to make progress, and we usually don't make as much progress or as quickly as we want to, right? So this book speaks to me as a Christian because when Clear is talking about making tiny progress, like half steps, tiny actions that you can take in 2 minutes or less, that resonates with me because that sounds doable as a fallen and depraved Christian. So in the book, Clear opens with a story about a biking team who was training for the Olympics. And this team had not won in over a decade. And they made it their goal, their big goal, to win this Olympic medal. And they brought on a coach who made tiny improvements, not just in the kinds of bikes they were riding or the kinds of seats that they were using or the kind of fabric that their biking uniforms were made out of, but he made all kinds of 1% improvements in all areas of their life. So he changed out the pillows that they were sleeping on. He changed out the massage gels that they were using on their bodies after a training session. He did things to improve their biking performance that were seemingly insignificant and seemingly irrelevant to biking. And it actually made a huge difference. They ended up winning multiple times in a row because of this combination of 1% improvements over a broad area that all impacted their biking, although not directly related to biking. Isn't that interesting? I want to read you a quote from Clear's book. Making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in the moment. But over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, or that make up middle school, or that make up high school, these little choices determine the difference between who you are today and who you could become tomorrow. Success is the product of tiny daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. This makes so much sense, doesn't it? Because all we are given in any day, at any moment, is the moment. And these momentary decisions, these momentary choices of whether to work in the direction of what you want, in the direction of your goal, in the direction of your calling, or to work in the opposite direction, right? To give in to sin, to give in to temptation, to give in to distraction. Those choices add up, not in a day, but over a lifetime. And I would say over the span of 2 or 3 years of middle school, or over the span of 4 years of high school, they add up. And this video is meant to be so encouraging to us because all we need to commit to is a half step. You don't need to commit to 100% gain every day. All you need to do is commit to 1%. So in the book, Clear includes this very helpful graph. The x-axis is time and the y-axis is results. And we might think that the growth we should experience and expect is a 45-degree angle of continual progress. That's actually not true. He, in his research, found that if you increase 1% every day over a year, you will eventually experience an upslope. But what I think is fascinating is that if you don't improve 1% better every day, you don't stay on the neutral line. You actually experience 1% of decline over time. And I was thinking about that in scripture, and I found this verse in 2 Thessalonians that I want to read to you that just shows that progress is incremental, including spiritual progress. So Paul writes in 2 Thessalonians 1:3, "We ought always to thank God for you, brothers, and rightly so, because your faith is growing more and more, and the love every one of you has for each other is increasing." This idea of incremental growth, incremental sanctification is biblical. And also the idea of a steady decline is also biblical. And I was remembering the obvious story of Noah's Ark and the flood. The world had declined, regressed incrementally over time, so much to the point that God felt he had to wipe out the earth and start again, right? So I think Clear is onto something. And we as Christians can go along with it because we see this in scripture. There is a spiritual battle going on. We don't live in a neutral world where if you take no action, there is no consequence. There is either growth or depravity. And every day we need to fight for the growth. And we only need to fight for 1% each day. And that 1% is supposed to be drawn from God, right? We don't even have 1% in us to give on our own. Every ounce of strength and energy and good intention that we have is taken from the source of all good, which is God. All right, I'm going to close this out with 2 more quotes from Clear's book. Favorite quotes that I have told my mastermind to copy into their journals. The first one is, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person that you want to become." Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person that you want to become. That is so real. Every choice we make in the moment is counted either toward the kind of person you want to be or the kind of person that you don't want to be. Everything counts. And that really challenges us to take seriously all the choices, all the momentary decisions that we make. The second quote I wanted to share with you says, "You don't decide your future. You decide your habits, and your habits decide your future." So we need to bring that back to biblical truth because we know that nobody decides the future except God, right? It isn't our plans. It isn't our strategy. It isn't our good intentions or our actions. None of it is going to pan out if God is not going to bless those actions and those 1% habits. But I love this quote because the goal of the Christian life is to form godly habits, right? We would agree that your day is a compilation of small actions, and the day is made up of actions and series of choices that compose of the day. We as Christians need to dedicate every day, every moment, every choice, every tiny habit to the Lord. And like Philippians 4:13 says, and I'm going to end here, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We are not meant to take even tiny actions on our own strength, with our own willpower, with our own resources, with our own knowledge. We are called to be 100% dependent on God as the source of our strength. And so let me just encourage us as believers who are developing ourselves into effective and godly leaders who can influence other people. Let's go to the Lord for every tiny action that we take, every tiny choice that we make every day. And in his grace and in his love for us, and not because of our faithfulness or our goodness or our worthiness, he will grow the work that we faithfully put out there every day. If you have any comments or questions, any response to this 1% rule, I would love to hear feedback from you. You can reach me at Brenda@weleadthis.com, Brenda@weleadthis.com. Thank you for your time today, and I will meet back up with you in the next video.